Bueno, bienvenidos a todos y a todas a este programa inaugural de Millennials, el arte multimedia de la generación Y. Yo soy Pablo de Soto, director de LABoral y comisario de esta exposición, y en nombre de todo el equipo, bueno, os damos la bienvenida. Hay una exposición en la sala anexa, ¿no? Los 11 artistas presentes en EMAP, en la exposición de 9 países, son parte de una plataforma que se llama EMAP, que es la principal plataforma que existe en Europa de apoyo al arte con nuevos medios, digamos, al arte con tecnología, ¿no? Hace poco han sido las elecciones europeas, ¿no? Y esta plataforma con 16 instituciones para mí representa aquello que los europeos hemos conseguido de innovar institucionalmente para que nuestros países y nuestras instituciones se pongan de acuerdo, colaboren, hagan proyectos comunes, y eso es EMAP, ¿no? Y tenemos la suerte hoy de tener a Peter Zorn, que es el impulsor de este programa de residencias, que es el principal programa de residencias en Europa de apoyo al arte con nuevas tecnologías, ¿no? Y entonces en esta conferencia inaugural lo que hemos querido invitar a los artistas es a esos artistas nacidos entre el año 80 y los mediados de los años 90, que nos cuenten sobre todo su relación con la tecnología, ¿no? Cómo ellos ven una tecnología que en muchos casos para estos artistas es al mismo tiempo como su herramienta de trabajo, ¿no? Artistas que crean con robótica, con inteligencia artificial, con machine learning, con interactividad, pero al mismo tiempo siempre están como reflexionando críticamente sobre esa tecnología, ¿no? Y yo creo que eso es lo que se va a encontrar el público en esta exposición, como esa generación nacida o que está ahora en la treintena, ¿no? Cómo ve ese mundo cada vez más complejo, cada vez más tecnológico, y donde la tecnología al mismo tiempo es una solución, pero también genera problemas. Y a veces problemas que tienen que ver con el propio consumo de recursos de la naturaleza o con las relaciones laborales que genera las nuevas tecnologías, ¿no? Por ejemplo, la automatización o la inteligencia artificial, ¿no? Veremos más, haremos una visita guiada a las 7:30 y vamos a comenzar entonces con la conferencia, que tendremos el keynote, la presentación principal de Peter Zorn. Después va a intervenir María Smigielska y Pierre Cutellic, que presentan la obra Proteus en Millennials, y que son artistas, pero también arquitectos, investigadores en la Escuela Politécnica de Zúrich. Después tendremos a Susana, Ballesteros y Jano, Montañés, que desde hace ya varios años forman el colectivo Open Studio y trabajan desde Zaragoza. Tiene ahora mismo una exposición también en Etopía. Después tendremos a Kanno, que es autor de la pieza Kazuguchi, que está ahí al fondo. La verdad es un trabajo hecho con 2 colaboradores más de Japón. Él es el que ha venido aquí, él vive en Berlín. Y después Marc, que es un artista catalán que trabaja con instalaciones de gran formato y que nos ha deleitado en Millennials con una cascada que ya les contará los detalles. Y para finalizar, el último a intervenir será Manuel Golob, que viene de Austria, que está haciendo un acercamiento así crítico súper interesante a la robótica y que no solo está haciendo la instalación, sino también ha traído una performance, ¿no?, que tendremos la ocasión de disfrutar a las 7. Muchas gracias y vamos ahora con Peter Zorn. The floor is yours.
Muchísimas gracias, Pablo. Y gracias por esta exposición y a todo el equipo de LABoral. Y lo siento, no hablo demasiado español para hacer esta charla en español. Tengo que cambiar en inglés, ¿sí? Okay. This is my presentation? Yeah. Okay, here we are. All right. Yeah, and thanks to all the amazing artworks artists who are here present today, but also the ones who are not present here, but we have, I think, up to 70 different projects within EMAP, and yeah, much more even, because I was asked to talk about EMAP itself and its history, because actually we are not referring only to the millennials, we are referring to 3 decades of media artists and residents. So the European Media Art Platform, which was inaugurated in 2018, is built up on the legacy of the European Media Artists and Residents Exchange, which I want to present briefly today. We started that exchange already as early as in '95, hosting and serving 3 decades of media artists. We need sound on, please, and loud, okay? That was a short trailer of our EMAP exhibition and festival, the one we did in Halle, and at my, not actually my place, because that was the old Stasi building. I don't know if you know the German GDR Stasi background, but that was the biggest building of the Stasi in Germany, which was empty for years, and we kind of discovered it and built the exhibition in there. That was the one in 21. You will see another exhibition like that today at the opening. So what is EMAP? The European Media Art Platform, which we initiated. My center is Werkleitz Center for Media Arts in Halle, East Germany, and is one of 16 EU-funded European platforms. The EU, since 2014, has a structure that they have different programs within Creative Europe, and they have one program which is called Platforms, which serves different art sectors. We are the one for digital and media arts. We are a consortium of altogether also 16 members, which are placed in different 16. Sorry, you're right. Okay. Yeah, but we can start here. Yeah. So yeah, we're a consortium of 16 centers in 16 different European countries, all specialized in different kind of digital media art, bio art, and even robotic art. And we also include an annually changing international host organization. This year it's House of Optical Fibers in Indonesia. What are our, this consortium, what are our objectives? We want to create dynamic wide network of collaborating media art centers, not only in Europe but also abroad. So we have now, it's actually 137 international partner organizations. In the core of our activities is to enable and promote emerging media artists, to create an intercultural, interdisciplinary and collaborative media art community, and to create awareness and alternative solutions to the challenges of our time via art and also via technology. And finally, to support knowledge exchange within Europe, but also beyond. Okay, in the core of our activities is the residency program. That is what we are based on since we started in '95 with the MARE. And out of the residency programs, we create exhibitions such the one you can see here, or actually the member organizations are creating the exhibitions by choosing the works they prefer from the EMAP productions. All works you're going to see here are produced within the EMAP platforms. We aim to network and promote the artists by creating different tools and to create knowledge transfer for institutions and emerging artists, for example, by capacity building workshops which are open online and can be visited, but there's also a sector in our website called Shared Knowledge with Documents. And we also give access for researchers and curators with our submission database, which has about 700 entries every year, so it's several thousand of artists, mostly from around Europe, which is taxonomized on different criteria. So, how does this all start? The early birth, what became EMAP in 2018, was the creation of a small rural commune of students of the experimental film class in the Art Academy in Braunschweig. And 4 of us moved in this compound, what you see here in the back. That's outside of the so-called village Werkleitz at the river Saale. We kind of reconstructed that old farmhouse. And in 91 and in 93 we founded Werkleitz Association. And it's not only the first decentralized media art center, I guess, in the world, which was connected in 94 with a fixed line to the internet, running a server. But we also created the first Biennale in Germany, which we were running in the villages up until 2002. When we started this small art commune in the countryside, we came out of the 1980s generation, so we were heavily into subculture, into counterculture. And one of the big keywords in those times was counter-information, to crash the systems of centralized one-way media manipulation, at least what we thought. And for us, it was important how we can create this alternative communication networks, which nowadays you have in your pockets and everyone can join and can contribute to the world and distribute information. No one of us have in any way thought about the kind of damage effects of the internet later on to raise disinformation and fake news, as we see nowadays, and the social media playing in the hands to the hands of populist and right-wing movements. So that is actually something which we didn't anticipate when we started. And the damage of it you can all see through the recent selection last Sunday. That was a European election, but also in our region. We were in many communes in many cities. We have now the right wing as the strongest party, actually. So, but back to back to that time in the 90s, I would claim that until the mid-90s, there was this idea and hope that internet could change, could be a tool for non-hierarchical thinking and work in a non-capitalized, equalized structure. But that kind of illusion had been destroyed latest around 94, 95, I would say. What stayed and what stays until today is the critical thinking and the alternative use of technologies within media artists. And that existed here, I would claim, in the pre-digital generation as well as up to now. So, what was the start of EMARA and EMAP? We were highly interested in exchange with other artists, so we got in touch with 2 other organizations. One doesn't exist anymore, Haltheim Best Arts in the UK, and the Intermedia Department in Budapest, and invited its directors, Jano and Mike Stubbs, to being the first EMARA artist in the village of Werkleitz. And vice versa, we did send artists to Hull and to Budapest. That was really the birth and the start of what is EMAP today. And our first artist and friend Mike Stubbs coined it once a couch surfing residency, because it was really with little money, very, very alternative and quite small. But still, somehow we managed to keep on running up to today with changing partnerships. So I'll play this little clip. So in 97, we got the first EU money for 1 year. We could expand to Finland and to London. Then we didn't have any support for many years. But then since 2008, we were starting with the European Media Network, we called it. We continued to expand to Mexico and then to Australia and Canada with 2 years programs. Then we didn't have support for 2 more years until we finally became the European Media Art Platform in 2018. So our structure in the moment is like that. You see the core is in Europe, but we have 1 external partner in Indonesia. I don't know all our members because I think this is not so. But if you're interested, you just go to our website, emare.eu, and there you can see all the 16 different partner organizations, which also kind of co-produced all the works you're going to see here. And of course, during all that time, we were able to host really a lot of artists. I did count, and if I'm not wrong, we had 165 artists from 95 till 2017. If you go to the end of it, you see Mike Stubbs and Jano. That was the beginning, and then it goes until 2017. And you would find, I don't know if you are into the art scene, but you would find artists like Björn Melos, who is nowadays quite a well-known video artist. But with the, let's show you actually an example now, because I said we're talking about 3 generations of media artists. So let's go back in the 90s, and I give you an example about these information questions. So in 97, 98, Joachim Blank and Karl-Heinz Jeron, 2 of the so-called net art pioneers, went to MU organization in Helsinki to create Dump Your Trash. That's actually nowadays not so much awareness or knowledge about the net art pioneers. So most of them kind of, the names disappeared and only some people still remember them. And one of the reasons is that also many works disappeared. So actually Joachim and Karl-Heinz, they were even doing works before internet with communication. They created the project Handshake just on basis to connect different mailbox systems. That was as early as 92. And when the World Wide Web started, they created Internationale Stadt in Berlin from 95 to 96, which was also the idea to connect the whole city to create club nets in between. But also this project disappeared. Then they created their own server called zero.org. And zero actually is a recycling term which was used in the GDR. It can be read equally as the artist's substitute for the overused term World Wide Web, or a metaphor for the criticism of information technology. And on that server, they created projects like Without Addresses, which was exhibited at Documenta in '97, or the Dump Your Trash, which we supported. And both this project, ironically, blur the thin dividing line separating information from disinformation and questioning the true value of information in our society. As a user, you simply enter your web address in the form provided, and you receive a quantified reproduction of your homepage, now looking as if it was being sculpted in porous dark gray sandstone. You can go one step further and even order a stonemason production in marble or granite out of your website, so that to make sure that your information will stay forever, because on the web it might be not lasting quite long. I jumped a decade further on, like 2007. We hosted in Werkleid Swiss artists Christoph Wachter and Matthias Jude, and they actually had been inspired by the Berlin Wall and the holes within the Berlin Wall. So they created a project called Piccidae, named after the kind of woodpecker. The Latin name is Piccidae, which can create holes, even in walls. So it is an open source software in which the internet becomes an object of investigation into ideas, freedom of action, language, and barriers. It works like the URL of an otherwise censored website can be entered on Piccidae, and the requested site then is converted into an image and sent back to the user. So in 2007, that was kind of revolutionary, because the censorship only worked on base of text. Nowadays you can forget it, it does not work anymore, because now they can also censor images, as we all know. But in those days, they really circumpassed the censorship, flew to Beijing, sat in the internet cafe and typed in Tibet massacre or democracy and any words they wanted. And instead of the default no connection or whatever message, they were able to go to their proxy in Switzerland and to see the websites. It kind of worked for a couple of years very well, and it was spread all over with the URL and a special sign, and people could install it and really circumpass internet censorship. As I said, from 2018 until now, then we created the European Media Art Platform. And this is a new list of artists. We hosted like 162 artists from now. And since 3 years, we're doing collaborative residencies only. So artists always work with another artist or some more artists. And I want to briefly mention 3 projects out of that selection. It's 3 awarded projects. And for the start, I would like to mention Kasia Molga's work, How to Make an Ocean, which had been produced or co-produced by Ars Electronica. And I was also nominated for a prize. And I would quote, actually our exhibition curator wrote a nice text on it from the catalog from our 21 exhibition, which you saw the video from. The installation creates a space that allows a profoundly human experience without the need to fear the consequences, namely crying. It reaches out to all who mourn, regardless of the reason, to make a connection, create awareness, and have a space to grieve, where no tear is shed in vain. Life and joy can grow out of sorrow, be it energetically, spiritually, or emotionally. It always leads to growth and transformations. So you see it a bit here in the images. It is a work which where you sit in a dark space in front of a monitor and get inspired to let yourself go and shed some tears, which you can collect with special spoons and objects, and which are becoming part of the exhibition and this little ampoules which you see in the first picture. Another work by Marco Barotti by 2019, co-commissioned by the LABoral Art Center, is clams. And in nature, clams are detectors of pollutants. They serve as tiny filtration systems. Inspired by this natural phenomenon, Marco Barotti created a kinetic sound installation triggered by water quality. So real-time data is streamed by a sensor and converted into audio signals. The audio signal generates a live evolving soundscape that initiates the opening and closing movements of the clam sculptures. Sound and motion unite to create an experience that allows the audience to see and hear the quality of water in real time. The clam sculptures are made from recycled industrial plastic waste. Rather than creating a scientific value with this data transformation, it is an artistic reinterpretation aimed at initiating a discussion and raising awareness of water and plastic pollution. So environment is a big issue and thematic within the new generation, I would say, as well as politics. And here is the last work I want to mention. It's like a hybrid. It's a film, an installation, but it's also a live performance based on the hijacking of the computer game Red Dead Redemption, which they worked on in 21 at our center in Halle. And it's built on a Wild West shooter game, looking actually at the non-playable characters, so the kind of digital extras of this game. They kind of do a Marxistic analysis out of that figures, which seem to only exist and perform to ensure a social order. Sometimes little digital glitches appear, displaying their own faultiness, making them somehow seemingly more human. Let's have a short look at the trailer.
The street sweeper takes her job very seriously. She guides her broom with intent, and her gaze is directed at the ground at all times. There is one particular spot she always pays special attention to. For over 2.5 hours, she does nothing but sweep this one small area. And yet, all the effort doesn't lead to any visible changes. No matter how diligently she sweeps, the sidewalk remains dusty and full of dried mud.
So that was it. If you are running an institution somehow dealing with digital art or media art, you can contact us, become a partner. If you're an artist working with digital tools or bioart, you also can contact us and check out then our call website. So the next call very hopefully can open in September, October, but we have to wait until the EU approves our application. Thank you for your patience, and have much fun with the exhibition opening and the following presentations.
Buenas. So, vamos a hablar en inglés con permiso. First off, thanks to LABoral for inviting us and to this exhibition, the creation by Pablo, who just got hired as a babysitter last minute by our creative director here. And also the exhibition direction by Patricia Villanueva and of course all the members of their team. They have been so kind and welcoming, so thank you. And also EMAP and its program for their continuous support since we actually started the residency last year at Container in Zagreb. It really is an outstanding program for European emerging artists, so thank you all. And now a few words about ourselves. We are both trained architects and researchers based in Zurich. Maria Smigielska from Poland and myself from France, which I go by the name of CompMonks in my artistic work. And our last addition, Sophie, right there. We both have an individual practice, but we are working together on a specific series called Proteus. It's actually a series that started in 2018. And it has started first as an artistic research at Creative Robotics in Linz, Austria. You can see on the top left and the middle some first additions, the first tests and installations of the work with version 1 and 2. And later, Proteus 3 was conducted as part of a residency at ZKM in Karlsruhe in 2021. This is the video you can see at the bottom middle, which was later acquired in their permanent collection. And in 2023, we installed also an intermediate version called Proteus 3.5 that you can see here in the right. It was also our first commission in this series at the Copernicus Science Center in Warsaw. We are currently now on the fourth iteration of the series that we started to develop during the EMAP residency and exhibiting here at LABoral that you can see first when you enter. It's right by the entrance. And across the projects, across all those versions, we have used different means of interactions that you have seen in the videos, but always related to physiological or behavioral human data. Such as face tracking, skeleton tracking. We also use different kind of interfaces, such as brain-computer interfaces or cameras, to try to extract a form of frictionless interaction. All of this coupled with the ferrofluid material, which is a common vector across the project, either physical or as a digital surrogate. So we are really driven with this material, also not only because it has a very complex behavior, which is very hard to deal with. It has its behavior on its own through invisible forces of magnetic fields. It constantly changes its shape, and for us, it's also an allegory to the Greek mythology of the god Proteus. And it's his ability to assume many forms to escape truth telling. We use this material, the ferrofluid, as an instrument to trigger visual imagination through constant change. So in Proteus 4, you see here a few glimpses of what you will see at the exhibition. For the Millennials exhibition, we can see this particular version through let's say 4 lenses that are actually relevant for this exhibition. So we're going to talk briefly about the idea of distribution, the attention economy, the conversational interaction and communication, more generally speaking, through this installation. So regarding the distribution and distributed communication overall, for when we started the residency, we tried to answer a very interesting problem for us, which is how we could embody in a single space, in the exhibition space, something that actually happens so fluently across the digital infrastructure, which is common days digital communication. So on one side, we tried to think of two things that should work together as an ecosystem. On one side, the physical installation, and on the other side, the web-based interaction. And also, since version 3, we started to introduce an architectural vocabulary, which is very dear to us, of specific figures that intended to address similar problems and help to expand also the context of the work. So for the fourth version, we looked into post-World War II and cybernetics influences. We were inspired here by Jona Friedman, and something he called, funnily enough, proteinic structures from the 60s. Which were systems constructed of simple modules and joints. You see here an early drawing of his concepts. But this was done to respond to societal changes at that very period, right? So those modules could infinitely be extended and reorganized by inhabitants of the city according to their needs. So about the installations then. In a similar manner, the distribution that is expressed through those ideas here is, for us, the design of a non-site specific installation, something which is a modular space frame. So it's, briefly put, it's an abstract black modular structure which is about 6 meters by 2 meters and about 3 meters high, which suggests an infinite expansion and reconfiguration as well. And you can see that also through the aesthetics of the distributed display and reflection that we try to develop into this installation. So the distributed construction of the reference becomes the analogy to the distributed intelligence in this interactive installation. In a way, it also embodies the internet as an infrastructure. So, yeah, and distributed also means, because we talked about web-based interaction, it also means for us that it happens on any personal device at any time and anywhere on the planet, which was for us a completely new opportunity, a completely new challenge as well to develop an interaction which becomes unconstrained and really follow what really happens with personal devices and can feed the ecosystem of the series that we have been developing so far. So we're going to switch now, and I will let Maria continue.
Thank you. So the second vector of this of Proteus 4 is related to attention economy. It's important for us because it defines the character of the interaction that we are trying to design over here. So one criticism of the digital age is the attention economy, which currently aims to absorb and monetize people's attention with various digital products or services. So Proteus by default proposes an alternative approach to this, an approach which negates the information overload and rather emphasizes focus, mindfulness, and self-reflection. In short, yeah, the attention economy goes back to the individual. And within this project, we display those material ferrofluid patterns. Can you go back, please? We display those material ferrofluid patterns, which are very graphic, contrasted, black and white, and also quite abstract. And this abstract is actually for our favor because, as such, we invite the visitor to observe the change of the image, constant evolution of the image to foster a sense of presence. And this sense of presence is like, we can compare it to the moment when we look at the sky and we observe clouds. So it aims to create this meditative effect, focusing on personal introspection rather than on the external world. And how do we want to achieve it? So here we are reaching out to conversational theory of Gordon Pask, which was also developed shortly after first architectural megastructures, which Pierre mentioned before, in the second half of the 20th century. So this theory describes an interaction as a dynamic process, where both ends learn from each other and evolve in an open-ended way. So comparing to more contemporary interaction design, which is based on implicit principles, very often very clear instructions, and they are built in a very closed loop to promote more immediate engagement and playful interaction. So by principle, we are looking beyond that, and we try to imagine genuinely engaging interaction as something that is more of a conversation rather than a quiz. And in this example, you can see early work of Gordon Pask, where the communication between the entities as well as a visitor happens through the sound as well as light. And in our project, we are not looking into light or sound, but we are looking into more personal information, which in this case is gaze. We are relying on the sensors embedded in the personal devices. And we also rely on some pre-trained AI models in order to track the gaze. So we basically don't require very sophisticated infrastructure. We don't require cameras, which are extremely expensive. We really rely on sensors which are out there in any mobile device. Let me quickly find that back. So from the collected data, we are coupling the attention markers with ferrofluid patterns in order to create a more sophisticated interaction that is powered by AI. By doing so, we hope that Proteus empowers visitors to cultivate sustainable habits of focus and concentration to mitigate the detrimental effects of attention fragmentation as well as digital distraction. So how does it all work? We designed a web-based application that adapts our generative model of reaction diffusion to any personal devices, may that be a mobile or tablet or PC or laptop, and uses the camera to track the gaze. But in order to get anywhere closer to the concept of a conversational interaction, which we discussed before, we built another loop around it in order to collect the data and save it into the cloud for two reasons. Firstly, to display this diversity of interactions in the physical space, but also to train a reinforcement learning model that is a core of Proteus for the learning process. The aim over here is to produce more interesting and significant patterns which are more personalized and can respond to particular behaviors of every individual. So finally, to put this work in a larger perspective, this series is very much focused on interaction for communication, not on interaction for interaction. And thanks to the currently available cyber-physical ecosystem, we hope we can expand with whom and how we communicate, not only with matter like ferrofluid or its digital surrogate, but also with other entities at large. So natural communication is always about trying to find a common code to understand each other, and perhaps we might be more successful using new and more evolving common codes. Lastly, we would like to thank all of the team at Container, Teresa, Olga, also software developers, producers, William Lin, as well as, of course, plenty of developers who helped us build our system through making their online resources available. Yes, we would like to continue to improve the system, therefore please visit us and help us keep the conversation open-ended. And yes, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.
Bueno, mientras voy buscando mi presentación, os voy a comentar que yo lo voy a hacer en español porque lo hablo muy bien. Sí, dime.
En 3 minutitos te voy a avisar, ¿vale? Levanto la mano y...
Yo lo voy a muy medido, no te preocupes. Gracias. Bueno, buenas tardes a todos. Nosotros somos OPN Studios, somos 2 artistas que siempre trabajamos juntos desde el 2007. Nos llamamos Jano, Montañés y Susana Ballesteros, y vamos a dar comienzo a la presentación de nuestro proyecto de Pure Voice and Doing Gender. The Pure Voice es un proyecto basado en un contexto social, dando como resultado una instalación interactiva donde todos los visitantes tienen la oportunidad de liberar sus voces del género normativo a través de su propia percepción y logrando una voz neutral, incluso yendo un poquito más allá y adquiriendo nuevos matices, ¿de acuerdo? La neutralidad y o fluidez en el tono aplicándose a la actual categoría, perdón, si no lo controlo bien el micro, aplicándose a la actual categorización social del género normativo dentro de The Pure Voice, da como comienzo a la búsqueda de una voz sin género, una voz pura, ¿de acuerdo? Una voz sin etiquetas, esa voz pura porque en esencia todos somos agua. Esta instalación utiliza como elemento recodificador algo tan puro y esencial como lo que es el agua relativamente a lo que es la condición humana, ¿de acuerdo? La voz en vivo de los participantes pasa a través de ella, metafóricamente hablando, por supuesto, filtrándose y proporcionando la esencia neutra o fluida, eliminando así el sesgo de género. El elemento clave, la poesía, es representada por un espectro de agua, mostrando la interacción a través de las voces de los visitantes. The Pure Voice es un proyecto que pone toda su atención en deshacer el género, como ya he dicho, porque como ya sabéis, y bien afirma Judith Butler, porque bebe de su teoría, ¿de acuerdo? El género es un constructo social. La teoría de Butler sobre el género performativo, como ya sabéis, reclama que el género no es asignado de forma natural, sino que se compone de los actos que marcan a una persona como hombre o mujer, ¿de acuerdo? Esa vestimenta, esos gestos, entre muchas otras cosas. Y es a través de esa repetición de actos de género que se crea la ilusión de una identidad de género estable. Estos actos se reproducen a través de normas establecidas y controladas por poderes institucionales que nos dicen cómo actuar como hombre y cómo actuar como una mujer. Esta actuación genera la ilusión retroactiva de un núcleo interno de género existente. Pero no estamos hablando de guerra, queremos mantenerlo bastante neutro, ¿de acuerdo? Y estamos hablando realmente de amor. Y todos merecemos poder amarnos. Este es principalmente el leitmotiv de este estudio. Por esta razón, la sociedad necesita abrir su mente dentro de un escenario de limitación, ¿de acuerdo? Según Judith Butler, y continuamos un poquito más dentro de sus teorías, el tenaz esfuerzo por desnaturalizar el género surge de un fuerte deseo de contrarrestar la violencia normativa implícita en las morfologías ideales del sexo, así como también desarraigar los supuestos generalizados sobre la heterosexualidad natural o presunta. Porque esto es muy importante, y aquí va una pregunta. ¿Hasta qué punto nos replanteamos las limitaciones morfológicas ideales sobre el ser humano, de modo que aquellos que no logran aproximarse a la norma están condenados a una muerte en vida? Preguntas como esta irán generando diálogo a través de toda la exposición de The Pure Voice dentro de esta magnífica muestra de Millennials, ¿de acuerdo? A través también de otras preguntas dentro de unos monitores que también están instalados frente a la instalación principal, donde realmente se ha hecho una selección de una mujer cis, un hombre cis, morfológicamente normativos, es decir, y una representación no binaria que a su vez lanzarán más preguntas relacionadas con la teoría de Butler y sus cuestionamientos. Pero por ello, el proyecto de Pure Voice and Doing Gender parte de la neutralidad y fluidez como estrategia para desnaturalizar y resignificar las categorías corporales. Bajo la teoría performativa de Butler se propone la neutralización y fluidez a través de la voz y su distorsión y modulación como canalizador principal para trastocar las categorías de cuerpo, sexo, género y sexualidad y provocar su resignificación subversiva, proliferación más allá del marco binario. Antes de continuar explicando cómo se consiguió el objetivo anterior, realmente definido, nos gustaría contaros un poquito más sobre los objetivos iniciales de investigación dentro de este proyecto y cómo fueron evolucionando como resultado de toda la investigación debido a hallazgos, limitaciones y entregables, para posteriormente presentar sus hitos. En primer lugar, en relación con la voz neutra, como uno de nuestros principales objetivos de investigación, el estudio ha demostrado que no todas las voces pueden ser neutralizadas debido a limitaciones específicas relacionadas con morfologías anatómicas por encima o por debajo de los estándares habituales, ¿de acuerdo? Como las cuerdas vocales, los resonadores, longitud de laringe, entre muchos otros parámetros. Por lo tanto, se debe señalar que la neutralización es susceptible a la percepción idiosincrásica, a la percepción cognitiva de cada individuo. Por lo tanto, no es viable una voz preestablecida, como inicialmente llevábamos muy en vista, así que adaptamos posteriormente un enfoque más amable basado en decisiones democráticas. Este proceso de democratización brinda la oportunidad a los visitantes de modular sus voces, además de seleccionar el resultado según su propia percepción. También debemos añadir que algunas voces son más fáciles de neutralizar, masculinizar o incluso feminizar que otras. Según estudios de voces como a través del POIS, clinicalsystems.com, que podéis echar un vistacito si queréis, las voces femeninas son más fáciles de masculinizar que las voces femeninas. De esta forma, además, desempeñan un papel bastante importante, ¿no?, en diversos parámetros biomecánicos como la frecuencia fundamental, la vibración dentro de las cuerdas vocales, la fuerza de cierre y la glotis y su tensión, además del índice de ondas mucosas junto con el tono y entrando en juego algunos factores tan importantes como los matices y las emociones. Por lo tanto, debido a todos estos hallazgos clave, nuestro enfoque no se centra absolutamente en la neutralización de la voz, sino también en ir un poquito más allá del plano no binario, entrando dentro de la fluidez, la feminización, la masculinización y todos los matices de la voz adquiridos durante el proceso de interacción del visitante. Esto amplificará y reforzará el estudio junto al objetivo, ¿de acuerdo? Otro punto importante a tratar en el flujo laminar físico inicial, que describimos en la diapo, como uno de los factores principales como a tratar dentro de la poesía, en este desarrollo es que este punto ha sido sustituido por un audiovisual reactivo debido a un refuerzo relacionado con una interacción más inmersiva entre los visitantes y el agua, además de optimizar por su sencillez, versatilidad, buena logística y facilidad de montaje frente al flujo laminar inicial, ¿de acuerdo? Por lo tanto, teniendo bien definido el objetivo y tras los hallazgos definidos, falta información aquí. A ver. Me había quedado aquí, perdonad. No, esto ya lo hemos pasado, perdón. El flujo laminar. Sí, se me ha comido una presentación aquí. Bueno, recurrimos directamente a lo que era la colaboración directamente con el Colegio Oficial de Logopedas de Madrid, ¿de acuerdo? Y llegamos a la conclusión de que nos íbamos a hacer bastante foco en la cuestión de la neutralización, la feminización y la masculinización. De acuerdo a estudios que encontramos en su momento, como el de Lenz, como podéis observar, dice que llegando a la percepción de que algunos, bueno, básicamente que es mucho más sencillo lo que he dicho antes, feminizar, o sea, masculinizar una voz femenina que una masculina, ¿de acuerdo? Entonces, no habrá en ningún momento ninguna conclusión correcta o incorrecta a través de la interacción de los visitantes, sino que todo es válido, ¿de acuerdo? Bajo su propia percepción, porque todo es súper cognitivo e idiosincrásico. Se encontraron algunos hallazgos extras bastante relevantes gracias a este colegio de logopedas que nos ayudó. Y, por lo tanto, perdonad, es que tengo todo un poco liado, no sé por qué. Es un poco desastre. Tened en cuenta que Lenz es lo que decíamos, hacer que los oyentes indiquen sus percepciones sobre el género del hablante y la feminidad y masculinidad vocal es una tarea subjetiva. Sus respuestas no pueden considerarse incorrectas o correctas, ya que no existe, lo que decía, un estándar de oro para tales calificaciones perceptuales. A nuestro entender, igualmente aplicable a la neutralización. Por lo tanto, no se lograrán lo que decía, resultados correctos o incorrectos durante la performance de los visitantes durante su interacción con The Pure Voice, sino resultados que representen las percepciones personales del visitante. Además, en relación con dar la voz a la expresión del género, según Babayana, el tratamiento de feminización de la voz no solo depende del habla y el lenguaje, sino también de las emociones, perseverando, entretejiendo, señalando con señales no verbales y lenguajes corporales. Además, como afirma Scherer, las emociones se definen como un estado de ser o la presencia aparentemente instantánea de un sentimiento en respuesta a algún estímulo provocador. Por lo tanto, la emoción se transmite directamente por la voz y no es modificable mediante software, a menos que queramos obtener una voz monótona sin emoción. Del mismo modo que hasta ahora el lenguaje corporal en vivo no se puede modificar mediante software. Por lo tanto, las emociones del visitante en The Pure Voice se mantendrán sin modificaciones. Siguiendo las principales morfologías anatómicas responsables y necesarias para modular y modificar la voz, según los expertos del lenguaje, nos hemos centrado en la laringe y otras morfologías relevantes para permitir a los participantes encontrar su tono deseado, lo que íbamos buscando, mediante el uso de un plugin, otros softwares y un programa realizado en Max. Vamos a verlo. Esto está todo liado. Pero perdonad, ¿eh? Siguiendo las principales morfologías anatómicas responsables y necesarias para modular y modificar la voz según los expertos del lenguaje, nos hemos centrado en la laringe y otras morfologías relevantes para permitir a los participantes encontrar su tono deseado mediante el uso del plugin, otros softwares y un programa realizado en Max, ya lo he dicho. Este vídeo muestra
Gender is a kind of persistent impersonation that passes as the real. Her, his performance destabilizes the very distinctions between the natural and the artificial, depth and surface, inner and outer, through which discourse about genders almost always operates. Is drag the imitation of gender, or does it dramatize the signifying gestures through which gender itself is established? Does being female or male constitute a natural fact or a cultural performance? Or is naturalness constitute through discursively constrained performative acts that produce the body through and within the categories of sex?
Gender is a kind of persistent impersonation that passes as the real. Her, his performance destabilizes the very distinctions between the natural and the artificial, depth and surface, inner and outer, through which discourse about genders almost always operates. Is drag the imitation of gender, or does it dramatize the signifying gestures through which gender itself is established? Does being female or male constitute a natural fact or a cultural performance? Or is naturalness constitute through discursively constrained performative acts that produce the body through and within the categories of sex?
Vale, imágenes como estas las veréis confrontadas en la sala expositiva, representando la lucha
is a kind of persistent
en nuestra naturaleza. ¿Vale? Otro punto a tratar es la producción audiovisual y reactiva, como en primer lugar se seleccionaron dos softwares como mejor opción. Uno de ellos era un Touch Designer y el otro era Unity. A través del siguiente vídeo podéis ver la primera producción audiovisual reactiva. Tened en cuenta que el resultado estuvo bien en relación con la reacción sonora, pero las partículas creadas se alejaban un poquito de la idea inicial inmersiva que queríamos en relación al agua y al visitante, principalmente por materiales, por acabados, por luces. Por lo tanto, decidimos consultar a un profesional, Senen García, que es un artista, y nos derivó directamente a Guillermo Casado. Guillermo Casado colaboró con nosotros y a su vez también no solamente es artista, sino que es profesor de programación interactiva y digitalización electrónica en la Universidad Tecnológica de las Artes y el Diseño de Madrid, y nos aconsejó trabajar a través del software de Unity debido a la generación de mejores resultados. Porque Unity, como ya muchos ya sabréis, utiliza menos recursos y proporciona mejores imágenes en relación con texturas y luces y parámetros en general. Veamos un poquito lo que es los resultados del Touch Designer en su momento. Bueno, así es como el audiovisual reactivo interactuaba con la voz, pero este vídeo muestra un resultado anterior. Posteriormente se mejoraron luces, texturas, lo que he comentado, ¿no? Hasta llegar a un resultado muy similar a lo que vais a ver a continuación, pero también hay que decir que posteriormente se mejoró ese acabado. Bueno, y por último, pero no menos importante, os comentamos un poquito nuestra motivación. The Pure Voice es un proyecto basado en los siguientes valores fundamentales. Por supuesto, la dignidad humana. Esta instalación contribuye a la dignidad humana a través del respeto, buscando el rechazo de las fronteras de género que provocan discriminación, por lo tanto, marginación, aislamiento y limitación. Libertad, por supuesto. The Pure Voice refuerza las libertades individuales, tales como el respeto a la vida privada, la libertad de pensamiento, expresión y elección, ensalzando la igualdad humana de género a través de la neutralidad y fluidez de género. Otra sería la igualdad. Este proyecto intenta eliminar las diferencias entre géneros, pero no solo entre mujeres y hombres, sino también en un amplio espectro, implicando la inclusión y rechazando los prejuicios de género. Y por último, los derechos humanos. The Pure Voice hace foco en cubrir el derecho a estar libre de discriminación por motivos de género, así como de origen racial o étnico, religión, creencias, discapacidad, edad u origen sexual, porque todos somos uno, en esencia, lo que hemos dicho, todos somos agua. Y muchas gracias por vuestra atención, el respaldo en general, de verdad, gracias. Y estos son los reconocimientos.
Hello. Hello, my name is Kanno from Japan. I live in Germany, and I'm here presenting a project called Kazokuchi. So it's about like a life, which means artificial life. So now like AI is pretty, oh shit, it's not working. How can I, I'm sorry. Okay, that was simple, I'm sorry, thanks. But like, how can I make it full screen? Okay, so then I scroll like this. Okay, so yeah. And so that's a life and robots and NFT. And so the name Kazokuchi sounds like Tamagotchi. So Tamagotchi is like 30 years old, before there's huge hit from Japan. And it's essentially a live toy in your pocket, and kids get really addictive and like get huge sales. But like when you have Tamagotchi growing, they gonna die in about like in 2 weeks. And then when they die, they made their own graveyard, and to play the game again, you need to push the little button on the back. And if you push this button, the life you spend 2 weeks is gone, and you cannot see anymore. And because of that, kids believe that like their life stays there, and then, okay, mom, dad, I want another one. But of course, parents don't want to buy more, so they ask kids to to push the reset button on the back and play again. So I found that very interesting. And with the NFT, so NFT was also boom in like 2-3 years ago. Now not really anymore. And back then I really didn't like the idea of like minting your old picture to sell. I still don't like it. But like the collaborator guy, one of the collaborator guy was like he liked NFT, and I was like having discussion like why and blah blah blah, and then like we found some kind of nice idea to use NFT as like registration system for artificial life, because like all we have like when we born, we go to city center and like register a name and like mother, father, blah blah blah. So then all this family tree information, government has this information, but like a life such thing doesn't have such thing. So we got an idea to register all this a life family tree and name and stuff to NFT. And also like we're not really about to make a product that like make kids addictive, like in the context of rather making installation. So like we decided to make kind of like robot farm, which the robot do mating. So there's a process. So Genesis need to be somehow started and fertilized. So between the mating happening, they somehow need to exchange their gene information. And hatch is the when it's born. So we needed to invent somehow like digital thing having mating. So how we invented this was, so there's IC tag reader, like the thing has like bus or like the payment system has, and then so that's on the right side. On the left side, all of them has IC tag. So when the breeding season happening, so when one of the robot get closer to the other, next to the other one, when it's close enough, it scans the information, and then they're gonna fertilize. So, but like they don't, I cannot produce another robot because like it's impossible. So we define this as a house, and the life is software. So in the same house, there will be newborn in the house. So then things happens after another. So during exhibition, some weeks, some months, the next generation. So let me introduce a team. So he's the guy who come to me to let's talk about NFT. So he actually write like smart contract NFT code itself. Like it's called I forgot the name of the language, but like it's a smart contract language. Like works as in not Bitcoin but Ethereum. Yes. And another guy, Takemi, is doing visual programming, like anything on the screen. Like all the robot has screen, and also there's a visual information like visualizer. Those things are programmed by him. So unfortunately, they're not here this time, but yeah, some exhibition, they're coming together to set up, and yes. We did residency in Croatia together. Maybe I play a video. Well, the installation is there, so there's not so much sense to show. Oh no, this video is where's mouse cursor? Okay. How can I? So after producing during this EMAP residency, the further development is going. And
this
then
artwork consists of physical houses that sit atop a pedestal at the shows and are inhabited by the family of Kyskuchi, which are digital artificial lives. Each Kyskuchi is registered as an NFT with its own name, date of birth, and family tree. If they are born from the same family, they share the same surname and have their initial name. This is a visualizer that shows information focused on each family. On the left side are the family members, in the middle is the family tree, and on the right side is the family chat. The house.
Yeah, let's just keep going. Thanks.
This artwork consists of physical houses that sit atop a pedestal at the shows and are inhabited by the family of Kyskuchi, which are digital artificial lives. Each Kyskuchi is registered as an NFT with its own name, date of birth, and family tree. If they are born from the same family, they share the same surname and have their initial name. This is a visualizer that shows information focused on each family. On the left side are the family members, in the middle is the family tree, and on the right side is the family chat. The house robot wriggles around in the diorama, which is modeled upon the city of Tokyo. Some prominent buildings stand in their actual locations in the diorama. Each building has an IC tag attached to it, and the house robot can also check into the buildings. In this way, it is possible to look back at where the house robot has been in timeline. Charging booths are located along the outer wall, and when the battery is fully charged, visitors can unleash the house robot into the diorama. There is day and night here. The lighting changes from sunrise to sunset in a cycle where a day passes in 10 minutes. At night, the buildings will be illuminated. Robots' behavior changes accordingly. The house is moving little by little on the pedestal. This is the normal state, but every once in a while, the breeding season comes and the houses move around actively. When two houses are closely located next to each other by chance, mating happens between them. Let's take a closer look at Kyskuchi reproduction. There is an IC tag on the side of the house, and there's an IC tag reader on the other side. Kyskuchis, which are actively moving during the breeding season, sometimes succeed in reading the IC tags of other houses. As a result, an egg is fertilized and a new NFT is minted. Since those fertilized eggs are automatically issued as NFTs, it's possible to check them on OpenSea, which is an NFT marketplace. When you have an egg, you can hatch the egg and give it a name, or sell it. By hatching the eggs, Kyskuchi will have more family members and the house will become more lively and vibrant. Kyskuchi is a living creature with a lifespan. When it reaches the end of its life, it appears as a star on the screen, but the proof of its existence is preserved on the blockchain. Why don't you get one? Prosperity of descendants, Kyskuchi.
So this video, the footage is from the new version, which we did in Tokyo last year. So using the, yes, this, how do I, no. This one, I don't know, the PDF. Yeah, I think so. So we made a map of Tokyo, and then also did a light effect to simulate like a day. So like a day was in 10 minutes. So the morning ride and like sunrise and like sunset and night and illumination and like robot is moving around. So then like people actually kind of like project more in the local like memories that they have. Like, okay, so they're in this like part of the city where I live, and then like we try to somehow people to more imagine some like related story or some another path of the future or like the possible city image or thing with this like NFT or a life kind of environment. Yeah, so this was the very first prototype, very small, all looks same. And then the second version get this like the charging pad. So there's a charging pad in the pedestal in the exhibition system. So when they are getting out of the battery, they go to charge by itself. So it's more kind of like lifelike behavior. And then also like we made it like color different to get more kind of like recognizable each other. And this version is there. Yeah, this version is there. And yeah, the latest version is using diorama like this. Yes, thank you. The installation is there, so please visit, and I will be there. So if you have any question, you can ask later probably, but also it will be nice to talk in front of an installation because that's what it is. Thank you.
Hola, buenas. Yo soy Marc Vilanova, soy de Barcelona y nada, aquí presento una pieza que se llama Cascade, pero os voy a contar un poco de dónde viene. Hace ya algunos años que trabajo y me interesa mucho la escucha, ¿no? La escucha no solamente como la percepción de sonidos físicos, sino como una actitud en la vida de estar abierto a aproximarse a cualquier cosa que te quieras acercar, ¿no? Y en este caso tengo la suerte y el privilegio porque creo que es un privilegio de poder trabajar con equipos tecnológicos, ¿no? Y poder hacer creación con ellos. Los uso para poder escuchar o entender realidades que nuestros sentidos no nos permiten entender, ¿no? Usar la tecnología para extender un poco los sentidos y llegar a percibir realidades que no son invisibles, ¿no? Que hay un montón. He trabajado con electromagnetismo, con campos electromagnéticos, con frecuencias radiofónicas, con infrasonidos, con ultrasonidos. Hay un montón de frecuencias, de energías que nos penetran y que no son visibles y que no podemos sentir, ¿no? Creo que también es un punto como de humildad, de entender que no somos dueños de nuestra realidad, sino que la realidad abarca mucho más de lo que podemos sentir, ¿no? En esta línea os voy a presentar como 3 piezas que he hecho en esta línea de trabajo. La primera es Spike, que es una pieza de 2019, que creé en Estados Unidos, donde trabajé con los campos electromagnéticos, que son como los ruidos que producen aparatos electrónicos. Durante la residencia estuve grabando estos campos electromagnéticos que yo me encontraba en mi día a día, desde la tostadora, como la vitrocerámica, como el coche, como el cargador del móvil, ¿no? Y esas grabaciones de audio de estos campos electromagnéticos las usé en esta instalación, que está compuesta, creo que había como más de 14.000 cables planos, de esos cables que se usaban antes para impresoras y ordenadores. 300 de ellos terminan con un pequeño LED que estaba coordinado con esas grabaciones que yo hacía sonar con 8 canales alrededor, ¿no? Y entonces actuaba un poco como escudo a todos estos campos que estamos en contacto. La siguiente pieza en este sentido, en esta línea de trabajo, fue el IMEN, y aquí trabajé con frecuencias ultrasónicas, digamos. O sea, sonidos muy agudos que no podemos escuchar, pero que están presentes. Y en este caso utilicé la luz fluorescente. Los fluorescentes producen un montón de frecuencias ultrasónicas, ¿no? Y fue muy mágico porque tenía un micrófono de los que se usan para grabar murciélagos, porque los murciélagos se localizan mediante ultrasonidos, ¿no? Ellos tiran ultrasonidos, escuchan cómo rebotan en las cuevas o los árboles y con eso se orientan. Y con ese micrófono yo grababa un fluorescente apagado, no había nada, lo encendía, yo no escuchaba nada, pero en el ordenador se veía ahí un montón de cosas grabándose, ¿no? Entonces lo que hice fue trasladar esas grabaciones de estos ultrasonidos invisibles para nosotros a frecuencias audibles y los hice sonar en esta instalación, que había 128 fluorescentes que se coordinaban con esa composición de esas frecuencias grabadas, ¿no? de ese sonido invisible de esta luz. Entonces tiene esta línea como limen, quiere decir como threshold, como el lindar, ¿no? De lo que percibimos y lo que no. Uy, ¿cómo se ve? La siguiente fue esta, que se llama fonos. Aquí trabajé con infrasonidos, que son los sonidos por debajo de lo que podemos escuchar, sonidos muy graves. Lo que hice aquí fue reciclar 208 altavoces de cualquier tipo, de coches, de aparatos viejos, los abrí, los restauré, los limpié todos y compuse pues, esta disposición donde un mismo ordenador mandaba 208 canales de sonido, o sea, 208 voces, siempre con frecuencias infrasonoras. ¿Qué pasaba? Pasan dos cosas aquí, que por un lado, al ser frecuencias muy lentas, tú podías ver el altavoz. O sea, lo que pasa es que los altavoces son demasiado pequeños para sonar esas frecuencias. Necesitaríamos una membrana muy grande para echar esas frecuencias al aire, ¿no? Entonces, no suenan infrasonidos en la instalación, digamos, pero puedes ver el esfuerzo del altavoz al intentar hacer sonar esas frecuencias, ¿no? Ves como ese intento del altavoz y cómo él bate y lo intenta, y así se visualiza de alguna forma ese sonido, y también escuchas los mecanismos del altavoz intentando hacer sonar ese sonido, ¿no? Entonces tienes como una composición de 208 altavoces que puedo ir controlando uno a uno ellos, porque tengo un canal para todos ellos, que acaba haciendo como una composición como si fueran pequeños insectos, ¿no? Cuando van sonando. Entonces tiene esa forma también como de altavoz, donde toda la electrónica está al final, y estos son cables de audio que mandan el audio hacia el altavoz. Está todo hecho a medida, de hierro. Y esos son los altavoces. Y seguí trabajando con infrasonidos, y esta es la pieza que presento aquí, pero en este caso infrasonidos que se encuentran no ya producidos artificialmente como todo lo que hemos visto, sino que se encuentran en la naturaleza. Y la única fuente de infrasonidos que es continua en la natura son las grandes cataratas. Hay otras fuentes como son los volcanes, los terremotos, las avalanchas, pero todo pasa en un tiempo corto, ¿no? Temporal, digamos. Pero las cataratas están ahí persistentemente, constantemente produciendo esos sonidos, ¿no? Sonidos muy, muy graves que nosotros no podemos escuchar, pero al estar ahí presentes durante toda la historia, digamos, ha generado relaciones con otras especies. Y un dato curioso es que hay ciertas aves que pueden escuchar estos infrasonidos. No solamente los escuchan, sino que los utilizan para navegar cuando hacen migraciones de larga distancia, ¿no? Estos, al ser ondas muy bajas, de muy baja frecuencia, pueden viajar hasta 400 kilómetros de la catarata, y estas aves recuerdan dónde está su posición y con eso se orientan cuando migran por encima de las nubes, ¿no? ¿Y qué pasa ahora? Que fuentes artificiales de infrasonidos, como pueden ser molinos de viento, aviones, turbinas, hacen desorientar a estos pájaros, ¿no? Y también esta conciencia de preservar también esa naturaleza que nos es invisible, ¿no? Contaminamos también aquello que no alcanzamos a ver. Entonces lo que hice fue grabar, esto es en las cataratas del Niágara, y estas son unas en Canadá, en la ciudad de Quebec. Son cataratas muy, muy grandes. Fui a grabar el sonido de estas cataratas y utilizo en esta instalación solamente esas frecuencias por debajo de los 20 hercios, o sea, a partir por abajo de lo que no podemos escuchar, digamos. En este caso, no os enseño fotos de la instalación porque ahora la veréis, utilizo altavoces nuevos, no son reciclados, son todos iguales, muy pequeñitos. Es una tira de altavoces que está dispuesta a 5,5 metros de altura, que reproducen esas grabaciones de los infrasonidos de las cataratas. Pasa lo mismo, ellos no pueden mandar ese sonido al aire, pero lo intentan. Y ese intento, esa vibración, se traslada a un hilo muy finito de fibra óptica que pasa por su membrana y hace caer, digamos, ese sonido, ¿no? Ves cómo las ondas de sonido caen por ese hilo que es muy flexible y muy, muy finito. Entonces, nada, esta instalación lo que al final intenta como visualizar ese sonido invisible, ¿no? Porque lo ves en la luz, ves cómo cae, se escucha también el mecanismo del altavoz con esa vibración, con ese intento, pero también el público está invitado a pasar por dentro, a tocar la fibra, a atravesar la cascada, digamos, y a poder sentir ese sonido en la piel también. Nada, que la disfruten y aquí está para vosotros.
Hello everyone, my name is Emmanuel Golob. I'm an artist and researcher, as well as PhD student based in Vienna, Austria. And the title of my talk today is Performativity in Human-Robot Encounters, which, as you all know, on one hand, I have an artwork being part in the exhibition, but I'm also the artist for the performance after this talk. So I decided to use this chance to talk more about my overarching research theme and include also other artworks. When I was studying industrial design at the Art University in Vienna, there was one speculative design project. It was about me realizing how my ability to do nothing is changing in parallel to digitalization, but also an increase in neoliberalism. And back then, speculative design always tries to create these fictional scenarios that maybe make us discuss what potential futures are out there. But when doing this project, I realized that if I want to change something, if such a performance creates an effect with the people that I want to reach, and I specifically wanted to reach people that are pushing technological innovation, that are very much economy driven, I have to change something. I might need to speak a different language. And that was the moment when I started to think, on one hand, more scientific, but also to think more technological. And for me, it was very interesting then to add, on one hand, the question, what happens in my brain when I do nothing? And this very much led me to this question, what kind of brain networks are active when you are not consciously following a task? And yes, there is a brain network that has exactly this task. And it's an unconscious brain network. And the way this brain network is working is changing, because we are more, as we already heard today, We are overstimulated, our focus is changing. And that means that this network is not active from 0 to 100, but is more from 40 to 70, which is the new normal, and it's our way of coping with a change in environment. As the next step, I was adding robotics because I found robotics very interesting, also with the narration that is provided by industry, that together with automation, we will have more time to do nothing, but at the same time, we are scared to have nothing to do. So, together with a great composition artist as well as a violin player, I created this performance of Shaky Savine and doing nothing with AI. The artwork actually was exhibited here in LABoral in 2021. The robotic installation is measuring the brainwaves of the violin player and trying to make him activate his brain network to do nothing. The violin player is trying to improvise based on his visual perception. Obviously, they have like contradicting goals, and not both of them will be successful. But it was very interesting as an audience to perceive this kind of contradiction and to look for the patterns. Analyzing it from today, I would say at that point of time, I still saw the human as a closed subject, as well as the robot as a closed subject, as a pre-existing subject. And then they start to interact. And obviously there were already some kind of society levels, like a criticism on acceleration or a close look on how we are doing nothing and how doing nothing is accepted. But it was very much seeing the human as something that could be isolated or extracted or exists before the interaction. In parallel, I was working on a bacteria living in my mouth and how they are affected by the way I'm talking, and how they affect my emotional state. And now thinking about organisms living within me and affecting me, it very much dissolved my perception of myself. So I don't see myself now as a human being with a clear border, but more as an ecosystem or a collection of matter that is constantly floating in and out. And that is not a perspective that I also take into human-robot interaction. It's not about human and robot pre-existing the interaction, but being performatively defined within the interaction. So I'm doing a very practical artistic research project. So the current research question is, how can AI-driven industrial robots be reframed for broader creative genesis? So from my perspective, there are a lot of inscriptions coming with industrial robotics. It's about efficiency, it's about precision, it's about being mounted on the ground. They have a specific name, and this kind of limits the artistic genesis with these tools. And it's my interest is to open this up. The technical foundation for all the experiments I'm doing is a real-time machine learning system. So I don't choreograph the interaction, but it happens in this very moment. So one frame to the other, I don't know what is happening. I set the maximum speed, the maximum acceleration, but I don't know how the robot will move. And that's also going to be part of the performance today, that I don't exactly know what will happen. The project that is exhibited here is called Disarming, and it very much started with me realizing that whenever I started an art project with an industrial robot arm, I was mounting it on the ground and then working from there. But maybe I don't have to, and at the same time, industry is providing this narration that together with machine learning, robots are becoming more and more autonomous. But at the same time, I still call them arm. From a historic perspective, autonomy was at one time linked very much to the ability to be self-moving, moving forward on your own. So what you can see here is two virtual robotic arms trying to learn how to move forward and be historically autonomous. And in the artwork that you can see in the exhibition nearby, it is the same algorithm running. So the robot arm is trying to learn how to move forward throughout the exhibition time. So from one point, you can say it's trying to become autonomous by being self-moving, but at the same time, I define the task, and the task of getting rid of the connotation as an arm is still a very cultural human task. And it's definitely not getting rid of the connotation as being a robot. Disarming is a series of projects, so you have the special chance tonight to experience 2 of them in person, physical, next to it. And now I'm going to show you another iteration of it, which actually happened just before my EMAP residency. I would like to have some sound. So within this iteration, you could see a robotic arm learning how to locomote in a cornfield, in a harvested cornfield, like an old cornfield. And I found it very interesting because in the beginning, one has the tendency to see technology learning in the background, in front of the background of nature. But the breeding of corn is a very, very old technology. It's an agricultural technique that has been around for some 1,000 years. So maybe it is a new technology learning on the background of an old technology, which I found an interesting take. The iteration you're going to see in the next room is a very abstracted version of it, where it is more focusing on the learning aspect. So for me, it is not important to accelerate the learning of locomotion, but to slow it down, to stretch the machine learning, and to have a focus on what we perceive in this learning process, what it makes with us, and what we project in this project. And I invite you all to also experience the exhibition afterwards and have your own take on it. Yeah, for the next slide, I'm going to jump over, and I would like now to prepare the stage for the performance and invite you to stay here.